I went on, I got a computer and I had some issues and it modem wasn't working properly. And so went to the store and I asked them, well, how much would it cost me to get them, to have you guys, put a new modem in my PC? And they said, oh, it's modem's probably going to be about $50. Installation is going to be about, $75. So we're looking at about $150 to, replace this modem. And so I go to the house and I talk to my friend. I explain to him and he starts laughing. He said, you're going to spend $150 to replace a modem in your PC? I said, yeah, that's what they're going to charge. He said, I tell you what, he said, go to CompUSA, and he said, you can buy a modem. He said, buy the cheapest modem they have. He said, they have one that's like $19.99, or go look. So I went there and I found a modem. I get back to the house and he has me pull off the side of the side of the case or whatever. And he said, you see that screw there for that modem right there? He said, unscrew this. He said, pop it out. I said, okay. He said, take the one out of the bag. He said, go ahead and put it into the snaps. And then he goes, put the screw back in. He said, then put the case back on. And I said, okay. I said, what do I need to do now? He said, you're done. And I said, you have got to be kidding me. And that's really what kind of sparked me, because I started thinking, like, you know what, if they could do that for a modem, what other things could I do? My first real IT role was a kind of a network support guy. Certainly when you're working 3 a.m. to 11, 4 days a week, and one of those days being Saturday, and you're a newlywed that just got married, those two things don't go together very well. So I come home and I'm ready to go to sleep, and your wife wants to go shopping. Really, it kind of grew from there. I got an opportunity to become a network administrator with a community bank, and then that role kind of grew, and then I went from a network administrator to being in charge of IT, and then I got an opportunity to go to a larger community bank organization in Jacksonville, and expanded from just having a couple of branches to having several branches throughout the state of Florida. The company had to downsize, and so unfortunately I was let go from that role, and then I got an opportunity with an old friend of mine. He's said, hey, you've been in charge of IT, you've been on that side for a long time, a number of years. What do you think about auditing? And I said, well, let me try this role, and I absolutely enjoyed it. It was kind of a combo role. We were IT auditors, but we were also information security officers. Did that for 3 or 4 years, and just really wanted to do something outside the financial sector. When I got this opportunity with Acosta through Meg and Josh, it was a nice transition to learn those different things, and I'm still learning. I mean, I've grown a lot, but being in a company of this size and for as long as they've been around, it's really different for me, from coming from a regulated industry to an industry now. And I joke with my boss all the time is that we have to be good salesmen, if you will, because there's really no regulatory compliance or anything that's required in this industry. So you have to really push best practices and try to get the company to understand, hey, you really should be doing this. I know we're not in an industry that's somebody's going to come and audit these things, but if you do these things right, it's going to save us from some reputational risks or any type of breaches or things like that down the road. So that's where kind of learning that process comes into play.